September 14th, 2022. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the 6 p.m. news. We begin right away with our major stories. Business sites and shops of business people operating at the Kwamba markets have been destroyed in the early hours of this morning by competent authorities. They have been asked to occupy the new sites allocated for them on 4 hectares of land to avoid public disorder. A woman by name Brigade has been saved from mob justice after she was accused of stealing the sum of 250,000 francs from a shop at the Melong Central Market, Mongo Division of the Littoral Region, thanks to the prompt intervention of the forces of law and order. The 22nd edition of the Grand Prix Chantabia Cycling Tour to take place in the city of Garoua from the 3rd to the 8th of October 2022 has been presented during a ceremony chaired by the Minister of Sport and Physical Education, Professor Narcisse Molekombi, this September 14th in Yaoundé. We have developments of this news. Thanks once more for joining us during the 6 p.m. news. We begin right away where business people operating in Kwamba markets have seen their shops destroyed in the early hours of the September 14th. This was an attempt to see that they should relocate and occupy the new site that was constructed on the 4 hectares of land. Our reporter and intern, Boris Landry-Kwekam, was there this morning, and this is his report.
It is a dream come true for most of these market vendors. The new Nkwamba market, found at Ante-Carrière in the Kolafamba subdivision of the Centre region, is now functional.
I am so happy. I endured all this for more than 8 years. Even when our brothers and sisters went, we stayed. We decided to cope.
This achievement is as a result of a more than 5 years battle between some market vendors denying to move out of the former market and administrative and municipal officials. Many have thanked these officials for the demolition of the former market, an action which has pushed their peers to move to the new site.
We are so happy that the government took the right resolution. It's been so long, more than 6 years that we are here. It will be a good thing that the market comes and stays.
Accommodation, security and many other facilities have been put in place in a bid to convince reluctant traders to join the new market.
This market is more than 4.5 hectares and maybe more than that. There is so much space. The only thing that is really worrying us at this time is when we see people denying to get into this new market. They are beside the road, but government will continue to take action.
It should be recalled that this is not the first time a relocation exercise is conducted. Market vendors hope that this time around the new market comes to stay.
Let's now move over to the Mongo division that is in the littoral region of Cameroon, where a lady by name Brigade has been rescued from an angry crowd who wanted to administer mob justice after she was accused for stealing the sum of 250,000 francs from a shop at the Melong market. The forces of law and order immediately intervened and put calm in the site. Now let's listen in this report as Ghislaine Afu says investigations have been opened to know what exactly transpired. Her report.
Brigitte Mesoncho, as she's been called, is still alive thanks to the timely intervention of forces of law and order after a theft incident which took place at the Melong subdivision. This incident, which took place September 13, 2022 at about 2 p.m. at the Central Market, wherein the lady who entered the boutique in the absence of its owner was seen to have stolen the sum of 250,000 francs.
I went out to send some money to my son, and so I told my neighbor to please keep an eye on the shop. I didn't even take up to 5 minutes. Upon returning, I saw a woman going out of my shop with a glass in hand. So I asked her if she needed anything, and she replied that she was searching for me because I wanted you to help me check on my mother and tell me what to do with her situation. I later questioned her on what she was doing by my catch box, and she started shouting that she wanted to collect her bag, which she hurriedly picked up and left. Her reaction got me disturbed, and so upon looking, I saw 500 francs on my chair. I hurriedly checked my catch box and it was empty, so I hurriedly left and alerted my neighbors, who searched everywhere for her before she was caught leaving the bar after she had changed into another attire.
An incident which caused commotion, and she was caught after being pursued due to report from eyewitnesses.
She got in here putting on a kaba and ordered for a bottle of juice, which she hurriedly drank. But before leaving, she changed into another attire and put the kaba in her bag. She left and was struggling to stop a bike to no avail. So my neighbor came in saying that someone had stolen from his shop and the person was in kaba. This caught my attention, and so I said maybe it is the woman who just left here after changing. So we pursued her and finally caught up with her on the other side of the road.
The forces of law and order, who were alerted, rapidly arrived at the scene and were able to put the situation under control. Investigations have thereby been opened to ascertain the cause of this act.
From Melong, we move over to the Northwest region. The construction of the Assembly Guest House, the construction of some schools, and rehabilitation of these schools that were affected by socio-political crises rocking the Northwest region were some of amongst the 4 deliberations approved at the end of the 8th session of the Northwest Regional Assembly that started on Monday, 12 September 2022. Our Northwest Regional correspondent Neba Jerome took part and gave us this report.
Let's rise to receive.
For 2 days that members of the Northwest Regional Assembly met for the 8th session, the construction of the headquarters of the Assembly was one out of 4 deliberations tabled and approved.
Regional headquarters or the regional guest house to continue phase 2 of rehabilitation and renovation of destroyed schools, health facilities and palaces. But more importantly, we want communities to work with the Regional Assembly.
Another decision arrived at the close of the session came from members of the House of Chiefs to pour libation and curses on those who picked up weapons against the state.
To cleanse the region and war unto any person or group of persons who will regard this cleansing as a joke. The elites of the Northwest are hereby called upon to respond positively to any founder where they are when the cleansing is going on. This cleansing is going to start at the regional level, where we will lay curses on those who take up guns, ammunition, everything violent against the state.
While calling on the non-state actors to drop their weapons and join the rest of the population to develop each community in the Northwest region, the representative of the state appreciated the members for their brilliant deliberations.
Your Royal Majesty, Institutional Representative of the Assembly, as you have deliberated on peace building in this session, may I urge you to return to your various communities and reiterate these peace building resolutions. Mobilize the other stakeholders to embark on the same peace crusade theme for sustainable peace and normalcy to definitive return in our region.
The session took place at a time when separatist fighters declared a lockdown in the northwest region as streets are empty.
We remain in the Northwest region where at the end of the 8th session of the Northwest Regional Assembly, some 200 students received scholarships. Amongst these children are vulnerable ones who have been affected by the crisis in the Northwest region. Our Northwest Regional correspondent Neba Jerome says the best student in Upper C scored 25 points and from Progressive Comprehensive High School in Mankon. His reports.
A total of 100 students said to need pedagogic support each receive a sum of 50,000 francs CFA for those in the first cycle and 60,000 francs CFA for those in the second cycle, in addition to didactic materials comprising books and bags.
The message is for us clear. For youth engagement and education, there is nothing more important than having our children go to school. We cannot predict the future, but if we train our children, they will manage the future.
To those who perform well in official exams organized by the GCE and Backboard during the 2021-2022 academic year within the Northwest region, a scholarship scheme was awarded to 92 laureates, with each backing home a sum of 50,000 francs CFA.
The Northwest region is going to be a future for us, and it will make us to learn more, and it will make us to help our parents. I want to tell our relatives and all of our friends that are not in school that they shouldn't run from school and they should be in school, because school is the key to our future and is the key to success.
While congratulating the students for their outstanding performances, Northwest Governor Adolphe Lele-Afrique called on boycotters of education to rather join the winning team.
Those that have received those equipment, to make good use of them, that it should go to the person the Regional Assembly is sending those equipment, books, benches, bags.
200 benches were handed to functional schools across the region, with more on the way, according to Professor Furu Angwafo III, President of the Northwest Regional House of Assembly, as 2,000 internally displaced students each returned home with bags filled with books.
A monument has been inaugurated to honor a late Robin Omniobe, assassinated September 13, 1958. The ceremony took place at Bumniobe, that is in the littoral region of Cameroon, and presided by the Secretary General of the UPC party, Robert Bapo Lipot. Geraldine Nasse was a special envoy to Bumniobe and says the monument will serve as a historic reference to the younger generation. Her reports.
September 13, 1958 to September 13, 2022, Robin Omniobe lives on, 64 years after he was assassinated by the French due to his advocate for the independence and reunification of the Cameroons. A monument was inaugurated in his honor on the hills of Bumniobe, a realization of the Secretary General of the Union des Populations du Cameroun, Honorable Robert Bapo Lipot.
You cannot learn about your history if you don't have any references. And for us, building this monument here is to give the opportunity to the new generation to know exactly what Robin Omniobe did for this country. When we try to promote war and division in this country, sometimes we forget that this nation, we got it through sacrifices of our founding fathers. That's why by building this monument, we want to give the opportunity to the rest of the new generation to know that many people died for the independence and the unity of this nation.
Present at the ceremony were militants of the CPDM, CPP, CRAC, other political parties. The French ambassador to Cameroon, Christophe Guilou, was present as a symbol of the historic relations between Cameroon and France.
If I'm here, it is because I'm as much interested, France is as much interested as Cameroon to deal and to address the painful points of our common history. And if we do that, it is also to see the future. As the Secretary just mentioned, we have to address the past in order to deepen the solid and profound relationship between our two countries, France and Cameroon. We have never been enemies. It's just a testimony of how important it is to address the painful memories of Cameroon during the French presence.
A Thanksgiving Mass was offered by the Archbishop Emeritus of Yaoundé, Simon Victor Tonye Bakot, where he called on those present to let bygones be bygones. Meanwhile, traditional authorities chanted incantations for blessings from their ancestors and for peace to continue to reign.
Beautiful images there done to us by Gerardine Nassé and Samuel Bonis from Bumyebe here in the central region of Cameroon. We now move over to a sports page where the city of Garoua in the north region will play host to the first lap of the Chantabia International Cycling Tour. The tour will take place from October 3rd to 8th, 2022 and will run in 5 stages with 11 teams including 3 Cameroonians. The ceremony was presided today in Yaoundé by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Nassis Mwele-Kombi. Bertrand Tita was our eyes and ears. His report.
The ceremony for the presentation of the Grand Prix Chantabia International Cycling Tour 2022 edition covered the entire event from start to finish, chaired by Sport Minister Nassis Mwele-Kombi. The 22nd edition of the Grand Prix Chantabia International Cycling Tour is a well-known sporting competition. The route and the profile of the 5 stages, the rules to be observed during the race, among others, have been outlined.
First time that the Chantabia Cycling Tour would be taking place in Garoua. We had the Tour du Cameroun in Garoua, but this time Chantabia Cycling Tour will start in Garoua. That is, on the second, we'll have the presentation of teams, and then the first laps will be in Garoua.
11 teams from African and European countries will take part in this 22nd edition, including a new team from Cameroon, Fab Velo Club in particular. Some innovations have been included in this year's edition.
We have it as a normal phenomenon that all the times we have the arrivals or the finishing of the race proper at the 20th May Boulevard. But this time around, it will not be like that. We will have the last stage in Meomesala. So this is new to us, and we are happy because Meomesala, as the race is carrying the name of the First Lady, we will have to have the arrival in her place.
The members of government are satisfied, particularly with regards to the cities chosen to host this year's event. Every time I am in need, the presence is a testimony. It is our pleasure through me, the Lamido of Garoua, the notables and the entire population of the North region. I want to say with all pleasures to all that we are always together. The event is set to begin on October 8th with excellence and innovation awards included. The takeoff and endpoint chosen have been appreciated by many as means to include all Cameroonians in the prestigious cycling event.
We now take you out of the country where 10 people have been reported dead in Tigray, the capital of Ethiopia, after airstrikes hit that part of the country. According to health personnel, the death toll might increase in the nearest future as victims keep entering the hospital. We have these and other stories with Gerardine Nassé.
2 airstrikes that hit the capital of Ethiopia's Tigray region this Wednesday has led to the death of 10 people. According to local health workers, the death toll could climb as more patients keep reaching the hospital. Tigray rebels have accused the government of carrying out fresh drone attacks in the regional capital Mekele 2 days after they said they were ready for an immediate ceasefire. Since the conflict broke out in November 2020, tens of thousands were believed to have been killed and millions displaced in the Tigray, Amhara and Afar regions. Queen Elizabeth II's coffin was greeted by crowds at Buckingham Palace on Tuesday evening after it was taken to the British capital by plane from Scotland. Despite wet weather, crowds gathered in front of the palace to pay their respects to the late Queen. King Charles III met the casket at the palace, where it will spend the night at the Queen's London home. It will later be taken on a horse-drawn gun carriage this Wednesday to Westminster Hall to lay in state for 4 days before Monday's funeral. Kenya's newly elected President William Ruto said that climate change will be key to the government's agenda and made an ambitious pledge to ramp up clean energy and phase out fossil fuels for electricity by 2030, taking cues from the country's revised commitment on climate change submitted to the UN known as Nationally Determined Contributions. President Ruto promised the country will have a full and just transition to electricity exclusively produced by solar, wind and geothermal energy by 2030 that will ensure all communities benefit from the move.
Dear viewers, that was the package recap. Business operators at the Kwabank markets are in tears after the shops and business sites were destroyed in the early hours of this September 14, 2022 by competent authorities. They have been asked to relocate to the new site constructed on 4 hectares of land here in Yaoundé. And we move over to Melon, where a lady by name Brigade was saved from an angry crowd ready to administer mob justice on her after she was accused of stealing an amount of 250,000 francs from the Melon Central Market in a shop. And today, the 22nd edition of the Chantabia Grand Prix Cycling Tour to take place in Garoua have officially been presented in Yaoundé. The presentation was done by the Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Professor Nassis Mwale Kombi. Thanks for watching. God willing, tomorrow is another day. Goodbye.